Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of No Title Needed, coming to you from the beautiful Feinstein's Cabaret here at the Hotel Carmichael in Carmel, Indiana, USA. I am Cynthia Collins.
And I am Scott Osborne.
And we are your co-hosts.
As
My
we
gosh,
always are,
yeah,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
Always and forever. And today we have, all of our guests are special, but today it's a really, really special guest, Bonnie Clevering. Bonnie, you're awesome.
Oh,
Already.
Thanks.
And you, it's right here, your new book that you wrote with your son.
Yes, Jason.
Yes, Jason. And you're now retired, but you did hair for years on major motion pictures and series. And so you have a plethora of stories, no doubt. And that's what's in the book. Now, go.
Okay.
Because I don't even need to say anything else.
Yeah. I mean, they're all good stories and experiences and locations. And I did 10 movies with Julia Roberts. I've got 120 credits.
Yeah.
I go back to the Elvis days and worked with Elvis at a movie called Speedway.
Yes.
Yeah, and Nancy Sinatra and Elvis and all the guys always were playing jokes on each other. They constantly who could get the next guy and, fake something. So I got Elvis a couple of days. He loved smoking the cigars. And so one day I said, can I light your cigar? And yeah, that's fine. Well, I had one of those Zippo lighters that you control the flame.
Oh, right, yeah.
And so I went to light it, and it just shoo. And I mean, to catch him was, guys just couldn't. Well, afterwards I thought, damn, I could have burned off his pocket.
That's what I was going to think. Look, why mine the hair? Of course, you of all people, mine the hair.
Yeah. Oh. And then he was complaining about how dry his hands were in his cuticles and everything. So an old, which you probably know what spirit gum is.
Oh, yes.
And so a makeup artist, told me about this. So I put hand lotion on, and so I put the bottle real low of spirit gum, and immediately, he's always so cautious. He said, let me smell. Well, I let him smell the hand lotion, so it didn't smell like alcohol or spirit gum, whatever. And so I poured, and I said, oh, too much, hurry, start rubbing. And his hands are sticking together, and the cuticles are filled with glue. God. And the next day he said, Bon, he said, all night I was out there picking out that stuff out of my nails. But it was a wonder experience because that's when Priscilla was pregnant. And so Nancy gave Priscilla a baby shower. And I had an infertility problem at the time, and I ended up having miscarriages. So I go to the shower up in Nancy's house. There's maybe a dozen ladies there. And halfway through the shower, Nancy says, Bonnie, you and Priscilla stand up. And so it's an old Italian wives' tale to rub both your hands on the pregnant woman's stomach, and it brings you luck. Yeah, that's the month I got pregnant with Jason.
Oh, my God, that's such a good story.
Yeah. And in the book is a picture of the thank you note with the return address, Memphis, to me, addressed to me, and says, Elvis and I want to thank you for the baby gift. So that's another picture in the book.
Oh, my God.
So I, had some good experiences.
Did you say this started like you first had you had a big coffee table book?
Yeah, which we're going into print again.
Okay.
And it's a beautiful, thick, heavy coffee table book. It's all, the outside's all gold. It embossed all different actors' names. And lots of pictures.
That's what I would like to have.
This has about half the amount of pictures, but there's still a lot.
And all the story,
Yeah.
Well, I don't even know
the whole
how
story is there.
I don't even know how you can have all your stories, even in a book. I mean, that's many, many years. Do you still, and I'm sure you do, keep in touch with people? Listen, wardrobe, hair, makeup, very important. Nobody wants to upset these people. Everybody wants to look good. You're so important to the process.
You're right.
I mean, God, you were talking about the continuity.
Yeah.
and how tough that is.
Oh yes, because I would say it could be Julia Roberts, Hilary Swank, Kristen Stewart, with lots of hair, and all of a sudden we're outside in the wind or the rain or the snow, and then 2-3 months later we're filming them walking in the door, and that has to match what was outside. So these are original continuity pictures that I took with the scene number and the name of the film and the script and stuff.
And the hours are brutal sometimes. I do know. I mean, you have to be there like the PAs or like the cinematographer before anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, the actors have to.
Well, you've been in the business.
And I'm in the right, and I know the hours, but the actors are not the first to be there and not the last to leave, and
no. And then so often if they're wearing wigs, then I have to stay. Well, most of the time what I try to do is set up a whole, in my suite or the house they're renting me, a whole thing for wigs. So I can come home and get comfortable and then do, if I have to put them under a dryer or whatever. So I have to always, at the end of the day, do the wigs also.
Do you prefer like the real hair wigs or the
No, the only thing I ever worked with were the lace wigs that were hand tied each hair onto netting, and they're also formed to the head. So like the actual wig maker comes and makes a mold of their head. So then that cap that all the hair is sewed onto or hand tied onto is exactly the shape of the head.
For the audience, would you mind listing us a few of the titles and maybe a few of the, big names that you got close to over the years?
Okay. Well, I did 10 with Julia Roberts. I did the Twilight series with Kristen Stewart, and I did several movies with Hilary Swank, Brad Pitt. I did Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and like I said, Elvis, and I don't know, you just about name them. George Clooney, and yeah.
So you were talking about that fan base with Kristen Stewart. How did that affect, impact your career and your popularity?
Well, I didn't even know. I hadn't seen the first two Twilights, and I get a call from a producer I had worked with, and he said, Bonnie, we're up in Vancouver, and Kristen, we're doing the Twilight series. Well, after I got off the phone, I called the kids, and I said, are they making another Twilight Zone? I didn't know what it was. Which was probably pretty good, that I just wasn't that, ooh. And so what had happened, Kristen did the Joe Jett story the year before, and she had told the producers for Eclipse that she would have to have a wig made, because when she did the Joe Jett story, she wanted to have short black hair like Joan. Mm-hmm. So they knew they were going to have a wig. So they had a wig made for her and everything. They start filming, and the producers in L.A. called up and said, it's just not looking, the way that natural enough. So that's when Bill Condon called me, and he said, we know what kind of wig work you do, and the wig can be beautifully made, but if it's not applied correctly. So I said, well, what are they going to think? Because I don't want to walk in the makeup department like, oh, now she's going to save the day or what? Mm-hmm. Well, I said, I'm not coming unless you tell me who's working on the show and they know I'm coming. Well, I had done a film with Al Pacino, one of the films I did with Al Pacino in Vancouver. And I'd worked with this department, and they were so excited. Well, I don't know if it was getting off their butt, that I was coming and they didn't have to deal with it anymore, or what. And so, Kristen was like 20 years old then, and it all worked out. I spent hours and hours in the producer's trailer looking at everything, all the film clips that they'd already filmed.
Because you had to match it, but you had to make it look better.
Well, or what I felt they could not use.
Yeah.
And so, we shot at the end of the day, I heard with the editing and reshooting, it was about $1 million. And but we just got along so well, and the same producers were also for the other Eclipse and then Breaking Dawn 1 and 2.
We need to take a break.
Yes.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
No.
Oh my God.
We want to hear more.
Oh my God, we're going to take a break. Be right back with our friend Bonnie in a second.
Hey everyone, we're lucky enough to have artist Randy Sorrell as our sponsor, and today he's going to show you a few of his beautiful pieces.
Check this out.
Say hello to Songbook Standards. This is an original acrylic, part of my music series that I completed in 2024, sort of celebrating jazz and blues and cool clubs all across the nation or the world. And if you dig music, man, you are going to love this one. Lavender Fields is part of my landscape series, and if you could see this in person, you would recognize how thick and juicy and packed full of color this painting is. And it really captures the lavender fields that you see in France and, sometimes here in Indiana. I think you're going to love this one.
Hey everyone, welcome back to No Title Needed. Bonnie, we're talking about your book and all your fantastic stories. And how did you get into this? I mean, you just don't walk into being a designer, a hair designer, and to have the career that you had. I mean, what sparked this for you?
I was a hairdresser in Florida and working in a beauty shop, 1964. Mm-hmm. My husband and I got married, and we had no idea, but we wanted to go to California. So we did that whole Route 66 to California. Yeah. And it ended up where we lived in an apartment complex near Warner Brothers in the studios. And there were a lot of studio people, grip, electrics, gaffers, whatever. Mm-hmm. And so one day, I had to get my California state cosmetology license because I thought I was going to work in a beauty shop. And there's a gaffer, his name was Lou Cole. He said, "Why don't you try to get into studios?" And I said, "Yeah, every hairdresser's dream to do movie stars." And he said, finally, he pushed me. He said, "I want you to meet Carmen DeRigo, the hairdresser on Petticoat Junction and the Beverly Hillbillies."
God, Petticoat Junction.
You remember that?
Gosh, are you kidding?
And so I went to the studio and had lunch with Carmen. And she came back and she picked up the phone on the sound stage, and she called Jean Burt Riley, who's the head of 20th Century Fox hair department, and said, "I just met a girl I think could be a real asset to our business." And so, long story short, I had to have several interviews, and like most of the department heads in these interviews were, as long as you knew basic hair, but there's no way, I would know lace wigs and toupees and how to put an Indian wig on a stunt double so that the pins are going a certain way if they fall off the horse. And there's certain pins that they're called stubbies, that the ends aren't real sharp. And so I just kept learning from all of the older gals, and I'd always set myself next to the oldest looking hairdresser because I thought she's going to teach me. And so that's kind of how it started. And I basically kept at MGM. I mean, I did Fox and Universal, Warner Brothers, but my start was really at MGM.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you contracted there? Like, was it like the actors used to be contracted?
No.
So you freelance?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I had to, back then it was like all the hairdressers were women and all the makeup artists were men. And so all the senior girls, what we called Group 1, would have to work before the Group 2 girls. Then if we had huge productions, then the girls like me just starting out then could work on these films like with lots of extras. So it was all a seniority.
Okay. Yeah, they started you off in
Yeah.
the background.
And then little by little, I worked myself up and then took the tests and passed and that kind of thing.
And then
But
they
it was
calling you to save the day.
All the way through.
well, and I didn't stay a real long time because my husband's work brought us to Indianapolis in the 70s.
Oh, so you've been here that long?
So no,
No.
just for about 10 years.
Okay.
And then his work took us to Dallas. And I
That's right,
didn't
you
think
said
I
you
was even going to go back in the business. But Texas had a great tax incentive at the time in the 80s for filming.
Okay.
So
Hello, Dallas.
I start working
Yeah.
in Texas.
Yeah.
And then finally, we decided the kids were in college and everything, and we decided to go back to LA. And so we went back, and then little by little, I got my, career back. And then I lost my husband. He was just 55 in the early, middle 80s. And, but fortunately, I took some time off, but then God only knows, but my career just started exploding. And that's when I started all these movies with Julia Roberts and Brad Pitt and Hillary and Pacino. And so, that was a godsend because, I had to make a living for myself because, and worry about insurance and all that. So I was very fortunate that people like me and I kept working.
Did you ever how have because you've been in the business quite some time.
Yeah.
But you must have seen a lot of changes. Things change all the time. People's attitudes change. The way you do things change. There's new technology. There's better wigs. There's I mean, how?
I actually have I'm curious. How has CGI played an effect in makeup?
Well, it's become more. When I left, I think it's been about 7 years that I retired with, and Jennifer Aniston, I'd worked with before, called me back, and so I decided to go back and do that, and I saw where things had to be really more precise, really, every hair, that lace had to make sure it wasn't showy. The makeup people started going much lighter in, it's not the amount.
Sometimes you're like, yeah, you're
we were
right.
the Max Factor days. Pan stick, remember?
Max Factor.
Well, I mean, you're not as old as I am.
No,
You knew it.
but that line of Max Factor and now Mac.
Yeah.
To the Mac.
It's so retro.
Yeah.
Yeah. The things have changed quite a bit in that way.
Yeah. Is there anybody that ever gave you any kind of difficulty or anything?
A couple, but I don't talk about them.
Yeah. Good. That's nice. Yeah. You just talk about the good people because there's more of that. I would
Absolutely. Well, and someone told me one time in your career, Bonnie, you'll get fired and you'll quit. And that year I did both. Both happened. One happened to me and I did the other. Yeah. Just old actors that were just, old time actors that just had attitudes and and I just could put up with it.
Right. Sure.
Can we hear another one of those good stories then?
Come on, Bonnie. Spill the beans.
I tell you,
on something.
The cooking. My girls like Kristen and Hillary's wife, Julia, they're all really good cooks and love to cook. So, when you go on location for 2, 3, 4, 5 months, then everyone's got their own little home or condo or something. And so so the first time I worked with Julia was on Aaron Brockovich. I don't think we were working but a day or two. And she said, I love sausage biscuit gravy. And I said, well, I lived in Texas, and I said, I make a pretty good sausage biscuit gravy. So I'd make it once in a while for her. And then all of a sudden, we're at the Bellagio doing Ocean's 11. And all the actors have those villas underneath, the drives. And so every location we did with Julia, we'd always have the driver go out and stash the refrigerator with that, plus, you know,
Proper
cheese and
ingredients,
crackers
yeah.
or whatever
Yeah.
our likes were. So we're going to be leaving Vegas the next week. And it's a Sunday afternoon, and I'm in Julia's villa, and she said, you know, we ought to go ahead and use up that sausage biscuit and gravy for dinner. And I said, I don't know about dinner. And she said, well, we got to use it up. I said, okay, then we're going to order for room service, like a nice big fruit tray or something to cut that.
Yeah.
And so she's in there in her kitchen. I'm in there in the kitchen. The door knocks. I go to the door. It's Matt Damon. And he says, what smells so good down the hall? And I said, oh, Julie and I are making my sausage biscuits and gravy. And so before you knew it, they're at the big table. We got Don Cheadle, we got Matt Damon, we got Brad, we got George, and we're all eating my sausage biscuits and gravy. So in the book is the recipe. And through all the years, I've served it to all my actors.
Oh,
Yeah.
gosh.
That's great.
And then when I went to Baton Rouge to do a film with Hilary Swank, she said, I want you to stay in the guest house. I stayed at the major house, but I want you to teach me while we're here these 3 months. I want to learn how to make every single kind of pie. Oh, cherry pie, peach pie, apple pie. So through that course, you know, we baked pies. And then we also had in every Sunday this woman that was about an hour away that had a quilt shop ended up coming and teaching us how to quilt. And then another time when I was doing Breaking Dawn with Kristen, she said it was Christmas time, you know, getting close. She said, let's bake the whole crew cookies. And I said, okay, how are we going to do this? Yeah, we're talking over 100 people, and they're not going to have one cookie.
No.
And so got the makeup girl and Kristen and I, all 3 of us decided to take our 2 favorite recipes in a variety that would all look alike and look good and taste good. So we're, when we're going to do this, Kristen said, we'll do it in my kitchen because she was, you know, in a big house. And I said, well, no matter how big your kitchen is, there's only a double oven. You know, we could use about 3 or 4 of them. And so, no, we'll get it done. We'll start early, a couple of weeks before. Well, she had to go out of town. And so it ended up, I just said, I'm going to make my 2 cookies, 5 flavors, in my condo. Makeup girl's going to do hers. Kristen, you're whatever you can do it. If you have to, you get it off early one day or whatever. So now we're all, I forget how many we've made, but it's going to be time in a few days. And she said, I think we should put them in individual boxes.
Oh, for God's sake.
Instead
Meanwhile,
of-
you were shooting. Meanwhile, we've worked. We do have
You
work.
know.
We do have work to do.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
I mean, I'm thinking put a big tray, so
yes.
to the production office,
Yes.
put one on the craft service
boxes
table.
with names. That's too much.
And I said, okay, sure enough, I go out shopping.
Oh.
Pier 1, I found these full of these. And I said, but I'm not going to sit full of 100 boxes. So, and then she wanted to put the name. I said, you're in charge of that. And so, but I mean, we got it done, but and the crew was just so, like,
You know what? You're a
absolutely.
gem.
Yes, you
You're
are.
a gem. You're
It has been a
excellent at
treat.
what you do, but you give the extra. You give the extra touch of making it a family. Because that's what it is.
Yes.
When you're together with people, it becomes your extra
And
family.
you know that.
and
You've
you
been
do,
there.
and you get attached, and sometimes you make friends for life. Sometimes you don't,
Which I do.
but sometimes you do, and I think that is incredible. And you're something else. I got to tell
Oh,
you.
thank you.
But we have to wrap it up.
Okay, honey.
To wrap. Sorry, I'm
Yeah,
so.
that's all right.
I hate to say.
I
it.
know.
I'm
it's
glad it
been a
wasn't a
treat, though.
12-hour day.
Oh my God. Well, I kind of, if it were, I wish I were getting the golden time, but the time and a half, believe me. But your new book, Continuity, Okay, wrote it with your son Jason. Bonnie Clevering, thank you for being here.
Oh,
It was
thanks for
and
having
really
me.
a treat.
Thanks for taking the time and sharing some of your stories with us. Everyone, please go get this book, whether you're in the business or not, because these kind of stories are just so fascinating. Whether you are in the entertainment business or whether you're doing something else less important. I'm kidding. Okay, so thanks again, and thanks for joining us here at the beautiful Fine Sense Cabaret. Come on over, get a drink, see some great entertainment. You will not be disappointed. And I am Cynthia Collins.
And I am Scott Osborne.
And we will see you next time.